because that's what will break the habit. It's called persistence of vision. You're breaking a persistence of a way of seeing things. It takes diligence. I didn't say work, I said it takes diligence. But you know what? You watch a child, he's diligently curious from the moment he wakes up until he has to go to bed screaming because he's not through being curious. You see?
Yes.
This is one way to bring the fun back into life. And it is what opens the door to discovery of that which you weren't seeing, but which I promise you is confronting you at every moment. There is so much more here that you're not experiencing. And the only reason you're not experiencing it is because you're so sure you already know what it is. And you say, our scientists can prove that it's the way I'm seeing it. You have no confidence in your own ability, and so you defer to the expert. And the experts are constantly changing their mind because one way or another, one of them comes along and looks with fresh eyes and discovers what he wasn't looking for. And now they tell you something new, and you say, okay, the experts say this. I'm going to tell you something. The experts, the scientific experts, make discoveries not because they're experts, but because they arrived in a moment of innocent awareness, which is the same thing every single one of you has. The discoveries occur in their being innocently present as themselves, with curiosity. And when they see it, they have the mathematical language to describe it in mathematics. You might not have the mathematics to describe it, but you have what it takes to experience it. And when you experience it, it's the experience of it that teaches everyone else. It's not the language in which you can express it. There's no one more expert than you. Not any one of you. It's just that you need to bring yourself into a state of genuine presence, humble, genuine presence, with curiosity, attentiveness to what you're not expecting. That's all. You know why you're as much of an expert as they are, or why they are no more an expert than you are when it comes to discovery? Because always the thing any of you are going to discover, no matter what your title or education is more of the truth about you. The truth about God is the truth about you. The truth about all of reality is the truth about you. And all of reality that there is a truth about is going on where? As a conscious experience in the conscious awareness that you are. Space, what you would call infinite space or unending space that you can peer through with a telescope, all of that space is nothing more than a conscious experience occurring in the conscious awareness that you are. It's all about you. And because it's about you, and you are always present, all of you is always present, it's there for you to discover. And it's there for you to discover whether you have language at all. Education. Because even though you decided to have a tiny private view of everything that excluded most of the conscious experience of being, the rest of you that you've been ignoring is still the rest of you. And it's still there to be re-embraced. It's the experience of the truth about the thing, not the mathematical language in which the truth of the thing can be expressed, that matters. Again, remember that the expert doesn't make fundamental discoveries because he's an expert, but because he allowed himself into a moment of innocent awareness where his own preconceptions didn't get in the way of what he had learned. It's always the case. So you're all standing in the same elegant and excellent spot of observation. Which opens the door to the experience of the elegance of creation. Not as creation out there, but creation that is a conscious experience, an infinite conscious experience, experienced where? In the conscious awareness of being that you are. So don't defer to the scientists. Their definitions are only current definitions. But you be the one to pass your hand through the glass or teleport. And then if they want to learn how to teleport, teach them. And if they want to try to find out how to express it mathematically, let them do it. But the experience is where it's at. Pretty soon everybody will be embracing new experiences, and they won't give a damn about the current best definition of the experience, including the scientists. They'll say, to hell with research, I'm going to have the experience. I'm going to have new experiences. And they're coming close to, let me put it this way, their mathematics is coming close to pointing their eyes in the direction of the experience, and that the experience is always an aspect of the conscious awareness of the one having the experience. Okay.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Hands. The gentleman right here.
Thank you, Raj. 2 years ago here, you suggested that we produce the reading, writing, spelling, language program and sell it on the internet eventually. And at the beginning of the year, we achieved that. And it has been selling a little in New Zealand, but not here in the United States. And we have gone into debt. But I have the opportunity to, or the possibility, I put it, the possibility of getting venture capital And I wondered whether we should, how can I put it, go it alone. I don't mean alone, we'll be helping a lot of children either way. Or whether we should go with the venture capital. It's a fairly simple thing, of course. With the venture capital, we bring in a lot of other considerations, like giving away 51% and all kinds of things like that. Which, I mean, is giving away the...
The answer is flat out, absolutely no, do not go the route of the venture capital.
Thank you. That was my intuition all along.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great. And it will succeed.
It will. It is very valuable.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Hands. Right here. At the end of the row here.
Good afternoon, Raj.
Good afternoon.
I have a question about a certain feeling of detachment that I'm experiencing. And I'll tell you how this recently came to my attention. My sister called me, and we have a childhood friend who we've known all our lives who's in the process of seemingly dying of cancer. And she said, can you hear? Okay. And my sister said, I'm at the beach with our friend, and she wants to talk to you. And so we got she got on the phone, and she was saying, Michael, I said, how you doing? And she said, well, I'm doing okay and whatnot, but what's really hard is that I'm not going to be around for my children. She has 2 children. And, well, I told her, I said, her name's Marion. I said, Marion, because of where I am in my life and because of the kind of things that I teach and study and learn, I don't believe that you're going to die. I don't have that feeling. And, you may go through a transition, but what about, if you came back as the children of your children, so you would continue the relationship with them? And these are the kind of things that I entertain the possibility of, just because that's part of my belief system. And so, and as I'm telling her about this, and feeling into it, I'm recognizing that maybe there's not the empathy there of saying, oh yeah, like poor Marion, she's not going to be with her children are going to have a rough time without their mom because they're just teenagers. And that's not, I have a sweetheart, who we discuss problems and things. And I was talking to Paul and Susan about their situation recently. And there's a feeling of, like, I'll ask my guide, I'll say to my guide, I'll say, how should I look at this? And oftentimes my guide will just say, just shut up and listen. Just sit there and listen. And so then as I'm listening, I'm feeling into my feelings, and there's empathy, because I don't like to see my friends suffer or go through hard times, but it's like I can't join with them in their consternation or because I don't believe, and I'll do what I can, don't misunderstand me, but you see, it's almost like before I could just go, oh yeah, poor Marion, she's dying, and oh, that's horrible. I can't seem to do that anymore. So it's like I don't have a foot in that world, but yet I guess, how do I love these people more without being mechanical about it, saying, okay, my guide, because I'm looking for a feeling place to be in, as opposed just to come up with the right answer, because I don't have the answers for these people. I know I don't. And that's why I guess my guide tells me oftentimes, look, just shut up and listen. Just be there with that person. But if I'm going to be in that space...
You may not have the answer for them, but you may be the answer for them. It is completely inconsistent with anything I have been expressing ever to acquiesce to death, to acquiesce to illness, whether it's a bee or a mouse. You're not here to be the impartial observer with a thought about what's happening, but to be, for lack of better words, the active clarity that what's happening is illegitimate and that correction is called for rather than acquiescence. Why would you do this? Because you care. Are you saying that you are not experiencing the capacity to care about them?
No, the whole question comes out of care. In other words, I'm moved to feel some way. You say correction is necessary.
Yes.
Okay. The caring,
the healing of the disease.
Right.
The healing of the apparent state of death.
Right. The caring for the individual makes me want to be able to do some correction. You know,
Indeed.
The doing of it. Like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do?
What is the only agent for change there is? The only agent for change there is you refusing to cooperate with the current definitions. You recognizing that correction/healing is called for, and that if correction is called for, correction is possible. And then you be the presence of the challenge to the status quo by going within, turning toward the altar, requesting, desiring to be filled with God's love and the awareness of the truth, not as an intellectual thing, but as a felt thing, the truth about her, so that you might stand as an active presence that is the conscious acknowledgement or the conscious awareness of the truth about her, what she is, what her body is, as the visibility and tangibility of her individuality, which is God embodied, so that you bring every aspect of her back into the singularity of the allness of God, in which this definition has no validity or presence or capacity to embody itself. But it requires attention, and it requires time, and it requires persistence, which you engage in, first of all, because you do care, and second of all, that because you have the capacity to be the agent for change. The explanation you gave to her is a string of ideas that have been put together to salve the consciences of those who think there is no other option than following the death procedure. Those who don't want to engage in the effort necessary to be the clarity of mind that makes the correction or supports the correction and breaks the habit. You see, it was a silly definition or explanation that you gave her, totally nonsensical, and one which in no way contributes to the correction of the problem. You've got to get it through your head that correction is called for and that means correction is possible, and you need to begin to engage more consciously on a daily basis in all of your experiences to be willing to be the agent for change that supports and helps bring forth the evidence of correction.
With just continual asking to reperceive the situation.
Indeed, so that you don't slip back yourself into a state of mind where the status quo isn't challenged and the habit of death persists.
See, that's where the feeling of detachment seems to come in. In other words, as I see these, like for instance in Marion's case, her suffering, both physically and in the mental anguish that she's involved in. And as I'm saying, well, I don't believe that that's so, Father, help me reperceive this, it almost feels like I'm not being empathetic to the individual.
Well, what you're doing is remaining uninvolved. Regardless of whether she might come back as one of their children and they would continue to have ongoing experience with her, don't be afraid to look at the fact that if she passes on, indeed, they are going to miss her. And they are going to need attention and love that wouldn't be required if they didn't experience the loss of her mother. See, this is the messiness of it that you have to be willing not to avoid, not to rise above or to become aloof about. Yes, the things she's concerned about are real human experiences that happen if someone dies, if correction doesn't occur. And then there's new correction that's called for with the ones that are affected by what happened, the children, the husband, and so on. And it takes others being willing to stand with the children, the husband, the parents who have lost a daughter, and so on, to stand with them in their experience of loss that they didn't know there could have been correction for, else they would also have been actively engaged in how they were using their mind and what they were choosing to use their mind for. Let yourself feel. This is not empathy. This is just being real. This is just, for lack of better words, being human in the very best sense of the word being human. It's being conscious enough to be able to be humane and not completely sidestep being humane by having a ridiculous theory that somehow is supposed to make everyone feel better under the bad circumstances that no one can do about. It's a process. It is a process of aloofness, of uninvolvedness, of not connecting with your own humanity, your own capacity to be humane. And yes, it is something that you need to look at. You know, you don't have to tackle being humane for the children and the extended family that would be affected if she passed on. At this moment, what you can stand as is an agent for change, challenging the supposed inevitability of her death. There are no private thoughts. The thoughts you've had do nothing to alter the course of her terminal disease. Everyone knows that cancer is terminal. No, everyone doesn't know that. All of the ones who had cancer and no longer have it know that cancer isn't terminal. It's not absolute. So the question is whether you're going to be connected enough, not by means of empathy, but by means of not being afraid to look at the realities of the, quote, human condition, so that you can see what calls for correction and begin to consciously be the presence of that which brings forth the correction. Death is an illusion, but it's not an insignificant experience. And you can't talk it away with a few short words or sentences. You can't talk it away at all. And the necessity for having the experience of death needs to be challenged. And you know what? The only significant challenge to the status quo is going to come from someone who cares and who feels the cost of the illusion. Feels what it costs to Marion, and feels what it cost or will cost to the children and the parents and so on. You need to be offended by the problem so that you have available to you the energy that is accompanied by commitment to challenge it, because it's too great a cost for all of them, and it's not legitimate. Bullshit on whether she might come back as their children and have an ongoing experience. That doesn't address the cost, the hurt, the difficulty that an unnecessary illusion causes everyone, and which they deserve to be healed of if it happens. I mean, where is the love in letting her die and letting them grieve? And it's all right, because in the larger picture, they'll have other lifetimes together. And the dream goes on. You can intellectually decide that you're going to challenge an illusion, or that you are going to engage in what will bring about correction You can intellectually decide to do that,